You may have heard about biohacking, but what is it? Well, I'm going to share the truth. Biohacking is now going into the truth about healing and that it starts with stillness. So, do you want to know everything?
Do you want to know everything? What your heart won't say, but your soul can sing. From love to loss and the space between, she's got the light to lift the unseen. Hope, healing, and transformation. Do you want to know everything? Do you want to know everything?
Well, today, everybody, we're gonna talk about a topic which I think is really hot at the moment, which is the biohacking movement. My friend and I, Karen Romine, who has been often guest on here. Thank you, Karen, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
We went to the biohacking conference last month, and I will tell you, it was so interesting. I personally sat there with my mouth open. This is the second time around that I have been here. I've been to the biohacking conference, and not many people understand what biohacking is. So, Karen, do you want to explain what you thought your definition of biohacking was, and then I'll come in with mine.
Okay. Good morning. And what do I consider biohacking? Now, biohacking for me is a little bit different because I'm writing this book about biohacking your mind. So I would define biohacking as it's the art and science of making intentional and incremental changes to your mind and your body. And you use tools, technology, lifestyle shifts, whatever that might look like to, I would say, to optimize mental performance, to expand your self-awareness, and to unlock your intuition.
Yeah. So you just nailed it. When I first met Dave Asprey, I met him in the Maldives, and he talked about how he was this computer programmer who could hack anything. And he said, well, and he was 300 pounds. He said, well, if I can hack anything, why can't I hack my own body? So he went down this whole rabbit hole, which has now become this multi-million-dollar business. And the biohacking is where we can biohack and we really start to understand our mind, our body, and our wellness. Now, when I went to the biohacking conference last year, I kind of went just to see what it was about. We was on the healing journey. You and I, we talked about the Sacred Soul Mastery class, and it felt very much in alignment until I went there and I went, oh, they're talking about the brain. And Daniel Amen was there, with Joe Dispenza was there, Gabby Bernstein was there, and you were supposed to be there last year. And obviously the storms in Dallas had different ideas for us. And then you came this year. And tell me your opinion of the whole place. And there's a reason, everyone, while we're talking about this, because it absolutely is very much what I have been talking about in Hope, Healing, and Transformation. And I think that everybody needs to be aware of it. But tell me your opinion of what the biohacking was for you.
Of the conference?
Of the conference.
So I think that you really have to go in there knowing yourself, because everyone had something that you had to have that was
Right.
going to change your life. I think that each and everything on its own right for the right person probably could. Sometimes more than just a significant tweak, it could have a major impact. I think that what I saw the most this year, and you and I talked about this a lot, is the greater extension into the mind,
Yes.
out of the body. Because initially, when biohacking first hit, the word hit, people were biohacking. It was all about the physical body.
Right. It really was. And what I found is there was a huge shift from biohacking the body into intuition, into the mind, into wellness. Deepak Chopra, we were talking about Deepak. There was Joe Dispenza was there. And obviously, this is my world. The spirit. Dave Asprey has now entered into the woo woo space. He has entered into the woo woo space. And a lot of the things, and the reason why I'm talking about this, if you are like, why is Lisa and Karen talking about the biohacking space? Everything that I have talked about in Hope, Healing, and Transformation, in my work, everything that I've been talking about in the recent years links us back to the biohacking space. So the reason why we're talking about this is because there is an absolute link from the woo-woo industry and everything I have been talking about on Hope, Healing, and Transformation and all of my work over the last year, 2 years, 3 years into the biohacking space. It is no longer about the body. It is now about the mind, about wellness. It's about intuition, and it's about reading your own body and listening to the signs. There was a guy there that Karen and I had to leave partway through, and I was gutted that I had to leave halfway through this session because I had a reading. But what happened is this guy was talking about how he cured his own cancer, yes, through Western medicine, and he did have chemotherapy. He had a very aggressive tumor, and he was given a very short period of time to live. And then he started down the rabbit hole of controlling his brain, visualization, everything that I did with Turin, actually, and I never heard this. And then he brought out the morning miracle. He was amazing. Even you were like, oh my gosh. What was your takeaway on that?
On him as a speaker?
Yes.
I love
on the whole thing.
Yeah, I love a structure. So it works great for me because he tells you the bigger picture, but then he's like, here's your 6 easy steps that I've combined from all the great minds, all the super productive people. I've taken everything that they say that they do, and I've combined it into 6 easy steps. I also thought that the way that he presented it, it wasn't an all or nothing. It was, work, like focus on these or start with these. If you can't get this one done, move it someplace else. Everything's important. I thought he was a fantastic speaker. I love the mix between the Western medicine and the woo-woo space. And what I think his message was, which is something that I keep repeating, you cannot scale what isn't aligned. And he is talking about aligning yourself. And just like you and I have talked about repeatedly, if you as an individual are not aligned, your business is not going to be aligned. Your family, all these things that you have an impact on. So I thought he was fantastic. And Hal Elrod is his name. And I thought that he's a great speaker, but his story is really impactful.
It really was. And I was really impressed to see that. And Jim Quick was there as well. And he was thrown onto the stage last minute. Then Dave Asprey released his book, Heavily Meditated, which goes back into meditation. And and I've got chills as I talk about it. You tested 40 years of Zen. I've tested 40 years of Zen. Dave Asprey has this program which you go away for a week. You can do either a ketamine assisted program or you can not. And it is 1 week where you are put through rigorous meditations and you're tested, your brain's tested. And it is as if you've done 40 years of meditation. And I'll tell you, it is unbelievable, really unbelievable. It's a lot of money though. And we had to spend our money somewhere else, didn't we, Karen?
Yeah, it is a lot of money, but I also think that what the biggest message was, was probably the biggest ticket item there to go to that.
Yeah.
The biggest ticket item there is a week of meditation.
Right. A week of meditation, guys. Listen, this is stuff that I talk about and have talked about for years. These are big name people now that are talking about you're spending $16,000-$17,000 for a week of meditation.
Right. And Joe Dispenza closed and talked extensively too about the studies and about everything. You know what else I thought was really insightful around the meditation this time for me? I've been a meditator since I was really young. I accidentally got into it. My mom was way ahead of the curve on this stuff. But what I found the most fascinating is this shift from, we close our eyes and we meditate. So I know sit up so that your body doesn't think you're going to sleep and setting all of that. But ultimately, when you close your eyes, your body assumes you're going into an internal space,
Right.
a restful sleep space. And to see this light therapy also introduced to be able to impact your brain so that when you reach those spaces of calm, peace, bliss, whatever's happening, it's training you to know, it's teaching your brain that you can do that when you're awake too. Right. And that is huge for me.
It was massive. And I introduced you to BrainTap. Now, I've been involved in BrainTap and Patrick Porter was there. In fact, I think we got cornered I got cornered in an elevator with him. But Patrick Porter was there, Dr. Patrick Porter, should I say. And BrainTap is where it really taps your brain. And I used it for weight loss. So I was using it for a long period of time. I've been using BrainTap for probably about 4 or 5 years. And so I know I introduced you to BrainTap, and he uses the light therapy because you're listening to, it's like binaural beats that are going in you, either side of your ears. And then you've got the light therapy if you have the actual goggles. And then we came in to discover something that Karen went, I have to have, and you are going to have one too. Not quite, but she's like, you have to come and see this thing. Would you like to share your experience on this? It's all meditation, guys. It's like ridiculous.
This was a journey of biohacking through meditation. The whole event was really for me. So I had pre-scheduled the time on what's called the Morphus Lounge. It is a chair and an ottoman that are set very close to zero gravity when you sit in it. It vibrates at a level that creates cellular rejuvenation, and it goes with the meditation. So if it's a more meditation that's like this, you're going to feel more of that in the vibration with the beat, or it might just be a continual vibration. And it's got an app, so then you also have the noise reducing headphones on. So you're listening to the meditation. It could be a journey that's guided. It might just be music. It could be short. It could be long. And then they also have goggles that are syncing in with the meditation that are, I'll call it flashing lights. That's, again, creating that impact to tell your brain that you're awake. So after I sat in it and I was overwhelmed in 10 short minutes, I ran straight away to the meditation specialist that I know and said, you have to go try this because I need to know what your thoughts are on this and how we could see different things like our enophones, like different things that we have, how it can all work together. Oh, I love mine. Mine has its own room now.
Needless to say, both of us walked away purchasing one. It was a big expense, and it was one I thought about very, very long and hard about because, in fact, I think I have 2 or 3 sessions on it, but I know I had several because I wasn't going to go in. I also know that we introduced friends of ours to it, and they purchased one as well. And what was interesting is it works on PMF technologies, which is actually your pulsing electromagnetic frequencies. So the pulsing electromagnetic frequencies that go on. So if any of you have used biomats, or if you've done any form of vibration plates, we're working with the vibrational energy. What that does is it allows cellular regeneration. It also helps align the body. It balances all the cells up. Now, you can't use it. I'm just going to let you know, you can't use it on certain illnesses. If you have arrhythmias in the heart, or if you have any form of cancer, that is not recommended for you. However, you can use it without that. Then they have these guided meditations. Now, I'm an expert in meditation. I would love to say I'm an expert. I do think I am an expert. I'm trained in hypnotherapy. My guided meditations are, I would say, excellent. And I've had many people over the world saying, you're the only person I can listen to when I meditate. I blame it on the English accent, but everybody else thinks it's something different. So I'm very, very specific about my meditations. Every one that I have listened to in the last week has been perfect. And what I see here with this is that the meditations are specifically designed with frequencies and solfeggio frequencies. And the one thing I really love about this, and I think everybody has to realize this, and Barry Goldstein talks about it as well. Barry Goldstein being a big person in the music industry for meditation, and also a business partner for me. And Karen has a little crush on him. But it's not really a little one. It's a very known crush on Barry Goldstein. But he talks about solfeggio frequencies and how sometimes solfeggio frequencies is just one tone. I love that on the Morphus, they have one tone solfeggio frequencies. And so that frequency aligns with the PMF, which is the electromagnetic. So everything aligns in your body to that one frequency that is geared with the lights. So I have a friend of mine who is a bit of a meditation snob who came to stay at my house last night. I put her on the chair. She came out and she went, tell me, was I gone for like an hour? I went, no, that was 10 minutes. And she's like, I have to have one of these. I did it with my friend who is also a doctor who, again, has done 40 years of Zen. And he went and did 40 years of Zen. He sat on that chair and he went, I think I'm going to clear out my second spare room and get rid of my bed. And I think I'm going to purchase one of those. So listen, guys, this is not like an ad for the Morphus bed. But I think what we're going into is the importance of meditation here. Karen, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say the other extreme of that is that I put my husband on it, who's not into this at all. And he is so type A, so high stressed, such a warrior, constantly in that state. And I put him on there for a 10-minute meditation. And I thought, what is that noise? And I walked in and he was like, but here's what I really think is important in that message is that in 10 minutes, it doesn't need to be on that Morphus chair.
No.
In 10 minutes, you can alter the state, not just of your brain, but of your entire physical being by just tweaking, by biohacking, by just tweaking that one little thing. And there are ways to impact mood enhancement. There's ways to impact stress. There are ways to impact healing. There's so many things that you can focus on just by the tones, by the bowls, by using the different notes, just by the words, by anything. And there is a way for everyone to find a comfortable space. Some people like to be guided. You're walking through a forest and you see a stairway, and some people only like sound, and some people don't like too much sound. It just depends, but it is a space that you can find what works for you, and it will make an impact.
And it does make an impact. You know, let's look at Turan's story. Okay, you and I, if you guys listening don't actually know who Turin is, we did a whole episode with Turin, who had pancreatic cancer, and she survived pancreatic cancer. She was given a very small chance, or the doctors were talking about a very small chance of survival. And I said, well, what if you are one of those people that are going to survive? And she's like, wow. And that was where the hope was. And in all fairness, I gave her meditations. I gave her visualizations. There were things that were calming her down. There was lots of tapping that was going on. Karen, I've given you a vision statement. I've done vision statements all over. And when we talk about anyone that is going through any form of grief, any form of change, life changes, the one thing that absolutely goes out of your window whenever anything kind of hits you is your wellness to yourself. The first thing that when stress happens, the first thing that happens is you actually, one, you stop going to the gym. And then you stop doing any form of meditation. You stop doing these things. This is the time that you actually need it the most. And yet we struggle to put it into our routine, into our daily practice.
Which circles back to the book that we first started talking about, The Miracle Morning, and it circles really back to life and back to what I said earlier. And you and I are firm believers in this. If you are not taking care of yourself, it's like they tell you every single time you get on an airplane, put your air mask on first.
Right.
I hate that using that, but it's the truth. And I just want to say too at this point, and I want us to make sure to wrap up on this, that Ray can put the link in the show notes, but there are so many meditation packages on your site. Some are with Barry, the Vasa meditations, some are guided, some are singular, but I think it's really an opportunity for you out there, everyone, myself included. I try new things all the time to see what's calling me at this time in my life, and then making myself the priority. So get up in the morning and meditate for 10 minutes. I say, maybe you taught me this, but this is how I explained it to people. It's like I like organization. I like everything to be really neat and clean. It's like it picked up all the papers on my desk and put them all in their file folders and closed the file drawer for me. So whenever I start my day, everything's so much clearer.
Yeah. And it's interesting because back in the day in fact, you went through CSA, Certified Spiritual Advisor, when I was going through my neuroscience training.
Yes.
And so that was actually powerful because what that did is it allowed me to understand. The reason why I studied neuroscience was because I wanted to understand the medium's brain. I wanted to understand the psychic's brain, the medium's brain. And to me, that was really important. So I started down this track of understanding it. Now, because I've studied neuroscience, I think it's made me a much better teacher and a much better speaker on this subject, especially when it comes to psychic, medium, grief, anything in my world and healing. And what I did is I actually asked the students, and Karen was part of this cohort, and I said, I would love you to do this whole program. This is what I need every single day, and you had to document it. And then what you did is you also documented your sleep, you documented your meditation, you documented your exercise, you documented your water intake, you documented all of this and how it impacted your readings and how it impacted your whole day. So what I actually did is I took 32 students over, was it like something like 3 months? I think it was a 3-month process.
It was probably.
And I have studies that show, and it was a documentation, studies that show how your readings improved by 60%. That was the outcome. Your readings improved by 60% of your connection to spirit, your connection to intuition, based on how you slept, what you drank, all of the intake, and how you optimize your body. So that was 4 years ago, Karen?
Yes, it was I don't know, it might be 5 now, but I think
Yeah.
it's 4.
It was 4 or 5 years ago, and that was my introduction to it. And then biohacking for me came along in 2022. And what it did is it made me go, oh, I'm not absolutely crazy. Because honestly, I thought I was batshit crazy doing all of this. And I realized there was something in it. I think it was so powerful.
And when you were talking, I was also thinking about that we were also paying attention to our water intake, like you said, to all these different things. We cut out doom scrolling. We
Yep.
cut out, right? There was like a whole process that we went through. And each one of those things is biohacking.
Right.
You're tweaking something small to watch what can really deliver a huge impact. So you can experiment on yourself. I encourage everybody to experiment on themselves to determine. We've talked about plant medicine, you and I, several times.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about just movement.
Yep.
Just not run. You and I personally talked about making a movement goal so that we have something that we're working towards. And I think that these are all ways to biohack, so to speak, our system to create greater health. And what I do know is some things, drinking water. I do think drinking plenty of water and staying hydrated will help everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But one person may have a more positive or a more significant reaction to a certain supplement.
Right.
Because that's where they're at, or a certain experience, whatever it is. But I think it's also important that we stay in a mind frame of always biohacking ourselves, always trying to get one step up, always trying to better ourselves, live better, feel better, create better, think better. It's just such a wide open space right now.
It really is. And I think when we start looking at it, and I think the takeaway here for everybody who's listening is putting yourself first. You know, we can get wrapped up in the to-do list. We can get wrapped up in the kids, our spouses, our job. And heaven knows, Karen and I can easily get lost in our jobs because, you know, we are both self-confessed workaholics. And the thing is, we love our jobs. And it's not work at that point. But to our husbands, it's definitely work. But there is, I think what we're trying to say here, everyone, is that you have to start putting yourself first. It is about your wellness routine. And your wellness routine isn't just going to the gym. And because, yes, while that is important, we're talking about your mental health wellness. We're talking about your breath work. We're talking about your guided practices. We're talking about your meditation practices. We're talking about your journaling practices, which Karen and I both just want to go about because we don't enjoy journaling, but it changes. I have a love-hate relationship with it, but I do it. Go on, Karen, you want to say something?
I have hacked journaling.
Tell me how.
Stay tuned.
Oh, teaser. I think I know what it is. Stay tuned.
Yeah, you definitely know.
I do know what it is. Yes. Stay tuned on this one because Karen Romine has hacked her journaling process. But all of these things I think are so important. And if you're already doing it, this is what I'm going to say is if you're already doing your meditation, you're drinking your water, you're eating healthy, you're journaling, I'm going to say switch it up. Switch it up because your body has now gotten used to it. You've gotten used to this process, blah, blah, blah. Switch it up. Karen introduced me. Well, it's funny because I'd actually already done this process, but way years back when I was studying. But Karen introduced me yesterday to a process where she's writing out a book, which I'll ask you to share that in a second. But switching out your practices is going to help you continually hack, continually do, continually be your optimum to get the best performance, especially to manage stress. Karen, what's this thing that you're doing? You want to share?
Sure. I realized from you when you were going through school and I was in CSA how important it is for the brain to keep us safe.
Mm-hmm.
And in turn, our brain can't decipher between a little pregnant or pregnant, a little stress or stress. So the slightest little thing puts us into a full-on stress. That could be, is the restaurant going to have my favorite wine tonight when I get there? Or I think I'm going to get hit by that train because my car stalled on the tracks. And so trying to slow down the brain and keep it in a space that feels safe and comfortable will train it to know you can actually be safe more. And so right now, well, it doesn't matter what book I'm doing because you can pick any book. So a coach of mine, Brad, he suggested that I get a book that means something, that says something, not a James Patterson novel or true crime story. So he says, look like before the printing press at those types of books. And you write out the book. So you're handwriting each page word by word. And if you make a mistake, you have to tear out that page and start over. So the concept is not to rush through it, but it's to take in what the book actually says, what the book is telling you. It slows you down. It makes you focus. It gives you a space to breathe. And it's not, I don't have a goal to write the book in 2 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I try to get a couple paragraphs in a day.
Right. That's a big ask.
It's a lot. And it makes you see things differently. Like, I thought about doing the 4 agreements.
Oh, okay.
I thought that book says a lot.
It does.
And you can just skim through it almost because it's such a short little big lettered book. Yeah, that you could just fly through that in no time. And you could just read the headlines and know what the 4 agreements are. But I think the 4 agreements will probably be my next book that I'll start on, because what it says in there, the message in there, I think is really, really important.
Right. The 4 agreements, actually, this is a book that I get, or my friend Genevieve and I, we get our psychic shamanistas to read all the time. I've just gotten my CSA group to start reading it as well, because the 4 agreements, again, it goes back into 4 basic principles, and now there's a 5th. But they are basic principles. But I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to realize is that what we're doing is there is so much philosophy out there. There is so much knowledge out there. We're not rewriting the wheel or remaking the wheel. What we're doing is we're utilizing what we already have and bringing it into our own spiritual practice, in our own mindful practice. But the 4 Agreements is a great book. Plus it is an easy book to do. You gave me an idea, Karen. Maybe I might try it. What Karen tries, I try, and what I try, Karen tries.
That's right. Makeup, books.
Oh my gosh, you have no idea. I'm just thankful that we don't live next door to each other, because we've been making like midnight altar runs or something like this, because we've done that before.
Yes, we have. And I see nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong with that. But I think the takeaway here, guys, is your practice of meditation, your practice of well-being, your practice of biohacking, your own being is so important. Some people will say, well, I carry some weight and I'll do that. It's like, I'll carry some weight, but I'll get new clothes when I lose weight. No, start now. Start feeling good about yourself now. That brings in confidence, that it makes you feel enriched with perspective, enriched with knowledge and wisdom. Start doing it now. Don't put anything off for tomorrow that you can't start today.
Yes.
And it's just that simple quiet of being able to connect to yourself. We actually have a free gift. All right. So if you guys want to start this journey, I actually have a whole process. It has got guided practices. It's got meditations. It has got everything that you need, breath work, affirmations that you can utilize for yourself. All you have to do is go to my website. lisawilliams.com/free gift. I'm sure that's it. We'll put it in the show notes. It is a free gift for you. Go there. We want you to have the best experience possible, that you can start feeling healthy and good right now. So yeah. Karen, do you want to give me last words of wisdom from Karen Romine?
I feel like we've shared so many of them. I would say it's important to put yourself first and remember that you can't scale what isn't aligned.
Mm-hmm.
And I would also say, when we talk about biohacking, to think outside the box and know that you can biohack at any level, anything in your life to make it better.
Yes, you can. Thank you, Karen. And thank you for watching Hope, Healing and Transformation. And I'll see you all again next time.
Do you feel a whisper in the back of your mind, like the truth is waiting, but it's hard to find? Well, maybe there's magic in the words she brings. Close your eyes and listen in. Do you want to know everything? What your heart won't say, but your soul can sing. From love to loss and the space between, she's got the light to lift the unseen. Hope, healing and transformation. Do you want to know everything? Do you want to know everything?
Thank you so much for joining me today. And remember, the information shared on this podcast is meant to inspire and support you, but it's not a replacement for personalized advice from a qualified professional. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone who might benefit. And don't forget to tune in next time. Until then, take care and keep believing in something better.